previous lessons, we've talked about various kinds of transitions. For example, smooth transitions, turning points, and so on. Here we'll look at a different way of introducing something new in a musical form, an interruption. What's an interruption? Interruption is a sudden event that seems unrelated to the surroundings, which can lead off in a new direction. But the technical side of interruptions can be tricky, so here we'll take a short piece and then examine how to compose an interruption effectively. Here's the first example. This is a quiet, calm character, and it's divided into several phrases. The first two are each 2 bars long. The final phrase is more intense and 5 bars long. The gentle climax appears with the high G in measure 7. Now let's introduce an interruption. Here measure 4 is changed into a sudden loud chord, 4 beats long, bringing in higher and lower registers at the same time. The rest remains as it was. This is not musically very convincing. Why? Well, first of all, the interruption seems to come out of nowhere. It also leads nowhere. There's no follow-up of any kind. Okay, let's try another version. This is definitely better. The first interruption in measure 4 is followed up by another in measure 7 and 8. The harmony in measure 4 and measure 7 is the same, but the extra bar in measure 8 gives the interruption a sense that it's followed up, so it sounds less accidental. And then in measure 14-15, the same chords reappear, but faster in quarter notes. Again, the original interruption is followed up and develops a bit. This smoothly leads back to the original character with the diminuendo, and the piece ends there. When a new idea is introduced suddenly, it's usually better for the transition back to the previous idea to be more gradual, as it is here. But even this version could be better. The interruptions still sound a bit abrupt, unprepared. Just as in a conversation, if somebody brings in a totally new idea, usually there's some kind of connection with the previous subject. Here's an improved version. The differences this time are as follows. The first interruption is now preceded by a little diminuendo and a short pause. This suggests that the first 3 bars are somewhat called into question. It creates a short but significant feeling of suspense for the listener. Why have we stopped here? Measure 7 contains the same 2 chords as in the previous version, but now in half notes instead of whole notes. This lessens the degree of rhythmic contrast between the 2 ideas. Instead of stopping at measure 20, this version repeats the idea from measure 17 in measure 19, and that leads to a more convincing ending. As a composition, this works better. And now one last version. This one prepares the interruptions as in the previous example, but instead of ending with the return to the first idea, it ends by prolonging the second idea. So here the interruption has more significant consequences, having served as a kind of transition. The last 2 examples are music convincing, but to me the second one is more interesting, since it really takes the music to a new, more developed character. To sum up, interruptions need at least a little preparation, and they need to be followed up to realize their full potential. Examples of interruptions are all over the place in opera, usually required by the story. But they are also often present in instrumental music, for example by Haydn and Beethoven. They add tension and interest, and can help renew interest in a larger form.